Head scratcher of the morning. Was Nehemiah a Calvinist? Was Nehemiah a Reformed theology, TULIP following believer in the Old Testament? I mean, I just happened to read chapter 1 out of giggles, and it seems like everything flies in the face of the definitions of TULIP, whether you're a 5-pointer, 4-pointer, super hyper, non-hyper. Okay, so we got men come from far away. Nehemiah says, tell me about the Jews that are there. They were left behind in the rubble of the siege of Babylon, right? And how are things going over there? Well, first thing that comes to mind for me is Nehemiah right here. He hears these things and he's crying. Yeah, you might cry out of human emotion, but according to TULIP theology, why? Shouldn't he be just revering God's name? Man, God's decree is great. It always comes true. He really preordained everything. I shouldn't waste time any time crying. I should lift him up, glorify him, tell him how great he is, that he's got meticulous and divine control of all and whatsoever comes to pass. And maybe he's decreed me to pray. So, of course, on TULIP theology, Nehemiah was going to glorify God through his prayer because it was predetermined. But if you think of it from the position of you have actual free will where your choices bring about results, those kinds of free will, and those results can bring about other results that God already knows about, but he doesn't need to control them, and he can work through them. So we got Nehemiah praying. I assume the Calvinist would say he's just praying according to God's will, and that's a good thing, right? Interesting that I see free will salvation in here. Not that Nehemiah wasn't already saved or born again or whatever it looks like in the Old Testament, but right here, he confesses. He knows where him and his people have displeased God, and he admits his own sin, his people's sin, his family's sin, his father's sin, even though Ezekiel says we're not punished for the sin of our fathers. This guy includes everybody, but that seems more of a loving, regretful, sorry for who we are, sorry that we come up short of what you've commanded, what Moses lived, what Moses wrote down. Some other things I found in here. 1:5. Wait a minute. Why would Nehemiah pray this? God's a God of love. Well, some Calvinists and reformers say God's not a God of love. He's a God who doesn't like everyone. Jacob I love, Esau I hated. And he even reveres the love so high that it makes it sound like God actually is love and acts outwardly to people because of his love, even if that love includes the consequences. Kind of like a modern day father who knows a consequence in love is good for their child because they can learn from it. Now, this is the NIV. I'm sure that the TULIP people really love the word decree here, but I looked this up. It can also be translated statute, right? Command or statute that came through Moses. I see promises. Well, wait a second. Promises. Sorry, I lost my question on that one. 111, where is it? 111. Servants that have been predetermined to what God ordained. Is there a reason to revere God's name in this? Or to call other people to revere his name? They're only going to do what they've been predetermined to do. And is this a waste of prayer, a waste of time? Should it be more like Nehemiah saying, whatever you're going to already decree is what's going to happen. But seemingly from the free will position that I think I have, I want people to know your name and lift your name up because you're a God of promise. When you make a promise, you don't go away from it. Those are just a few questions. Sorry I was ill prepared, but at the same time, head scratchers abound. Was Nehemiah a Calvinist? Was he a Reformed TULIP following person? Does God actually love? Why would Nehemiah say such a thing? Why would any Christian really grieve over these kinds of things? This seems more of a robust, hearty time to celebrate and enjoy and revere and lift up and continue to fill the glory of God and be happy instead of crying, because that was God's plan, baby. Okay, head scratchers abound. Over and out.